The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we discuss the latest news and info the feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish. Sometimes I get long-winded or less. So whether you are a seasoned federal employee or just starting out, we've got you covered. So grab your coffee, your energy drink, your green juice, whatever it is that gets you rolling, kick back, and we're going to tell you what you need to know but might have missed. We are your host. I'm Dan Sipe, and today, very special, I am joined by the amazing and incomparable Jen Meyer. I feel like Kermit on the Muppet Show. So those of you who are regulars to our site will recognize Jen from her amazing articles. She has occasionally popped in on podcasts, and she is one of our regular smiling faces on our ever popular webinars. And further, proving how great her love is for you. Everybody else went on vacation, and Jen is working from travel, to be able to be with us today. So Jen, thanks for that.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited to be here and super excited to do a podcast, right? So most of my days are all one-on-one meetings. So this is kind of a cool, something different for me. And I'm in Boston. On a little mother-daughter trip. We have, nice. My daughter has a friend that goes to Northeastern up here. So we're up here for a few days. I've never been to Boston. Okay. So for everybody that might be watching or listening in the Boston area, I love it so far. Today we have great weather. It's been a little not so great since I got here, but yeah, so it's been fun. So, and yes, I definitely wanted to make sure that, we keep these podcasts going because it's important and so many people are looking for information. So,
well, that's awesome, Jen. And I know I might be telling tales out of school here, but your family was like a little surprised that you got a podcast.
My kids especially. Well, actually, I take that back. My husband might have been the most surprised. My kids thought it was pretty cool, and I'm sure that they can't wait to see the actual. It's
a whole different level of cred. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so let's kind of jump in because we've got some really good topics this week. We think we always have good topics, and one is sort of going to be from the evergreen side, but still a little bit influenced by current events. A little bit later, I'll be talking about the protections that whistleblowers have. And a lot of people just don't know the history and the background on that. So we're going to be doing that. But Jen, you're going to be walking us through some of the changes that are out there. And this is a very fluid situation. We recognize that as part of the bill that's working its way through the House and the Senate, whether you want to call it a big, beautiful bill or what have you. So what's our latest on that? Recognizing that literally negotiations are taking place, the parliamentarians kicking stuff out. So as of our last look, what do we have?
Yeah, so exactly, Dan. And yes, I know all of us here at Serving Those Who Serve, we're all watching this very closely. And it is, it's impossible to know what things are going to look like by the time our listeners and viewers are hearing this. But I absolutely agree. We want to talk about what we know today. And there's a lot of worry. There's a lot of concern out there based on what we know as of today. So I'm going to take that position. This is what it is today and what we know, right? So there are a couple pieces in this legislation that potentially have big impacts on federal employees and retirees. And the first one, which in my meetings with clients and federal employees and other federal retirees, the first one that I want to talk about that I think is scaring the most people and also causing a lot of confusion is the potential elimination of the FERS supplement, right?
Sure.
And so this FERS supplement for many, many people is a big part of their retirement plan if they are eligible for it. And if they are eligible, whether or not it makes sense to get it. And by get it, I mean, you have to retire to actually get it, right? So FERS supplement applies to people that are retiring from the government. And typically you are eligible in one of two ways, right? So either you have reached age 57 with 30 years of service, or you're age 60 with 20 years of service.
Gotcha.
Those people are called, eligible for a normal immediate retirement. They are very typically the most frequently impacted. I'm not going to talk about special provisions yet. I want to make sure that's clear. We're just talking about civilian service right now. So yes, the supplement some people call it the Social Security bridge, right? And it is an additional payment that people get if eligible on top of their FERS pension that they get until age 62 when they become eligible for Social Security. And I also want to backtrack a second. I forgot to mention VERA, right? So this is where I've had so much confusion in my meetings is, many, many agencies this year have had VERAs and potentially will continue to have VERAs. If you take a VERA, are eligible for a supplement beginning at your age 57. This is something that I talk to so many people about, and there's a lot of confusion. But yes, under a VERA, you are going to be eligible for it, but you will not get it till 57 if you leave, obviously, and a lot of people are taking VERAs under age 57. That's probably a little bit more of a different topic, but just to make sure and make that point. So when somebody is eligible for it, and again, this payment can be upwards of thousands of dollars a year for many people. And if that goes away, right, now people are going to be faced with where do I make that up, right? And so a lot of times when I talk to people, the conversation is, well, maybe I'll have to keep working longer if I'm not going to be able to get the supplement.
Sure.
Recently, though, I'm also having a lot of conversation with people saying, well, I don't want to lose that. So if it's going to go away, I might retire sooner than I had already thought I might, right? Than my original plan. And that's a whole nother conversation that, people need to be very thoughtful and careful about those kinds of decisions. And I know oftentimes what I hear from people is, well, I'll just take money out of my investments, or I'll take money out of TSP to make up the difference. And as you know, Dan, I mean,
gotta be careful.
These are decisions that, they feel okay in the short term, right? But then when we're talking 10, 20, 30 years down the road, these kinds of decisions really will have a big impact down the road. So it's very, very important. And, again, I understand why people are worried, and I get that you don't want to lose that supplement. The good news, and this kind of gets back to the special provisions a little bit. So it sounds like there's going to be language that, doesn't maybe just make it go away tomorrow, right? So the first thing is, it sounds like special provisions employees will be exempted. So special provisions, kind of law enforcement, that's a different category. And it sounds like those employees and retirees will be exempt from this. The other one is that there is conversation around grandfathering in or making some eligibility criteria around it. And so if that comes to pass, then, that will hopefully help people as well. And again, we just have to see, right? It's too hard to know right now.
And another thing that I think is important is that the Senate bill is completely silent on it.
Yeah.
Which typically, no guarantees, folks, typically means they don't want to change it. So a lot to happen with reconciliation there. But Jen, that was a fascinating, dive into the planning side. And I know that's going to help people a lot. So talk through a little bit about another thing that's got people kind of on pins and needles, and that's changed from high 3 to high 5. What's the bill saying there?
Yeah, exactly. So that next to FERS supplement, that's the next biggest conversation I'm having with people. And yeah, so the way the legislation is written right now, that, we would be changing from a high 3 to a high 5. So high 3, and what we're talking about here is the pension calculation, right? Nothing to do with the supplement. This is your actual FERS annuity that you will have for the rest of your life. And so right now, when OPM does that calculation, it's based on your highest 36 consecutive high 3, 36 months, 3 years consecutive earnings. And they're talking about making it high 5, which would be your highest 60 month. Now, the impact here, again, is that potentially retirees are going to get less, right? Because now you potentially are adding in 2 years of lower earnings into that calculation, which ultimately would make it a lower FERS annuity for people. And again, all goes back to all right, if it's lower, then where do I make that up? Right. And they got to make it up somewhere, or, maybe they work longer. But again, then I'm also having these conversations where people want to leave before that change becomes effective. Right. And so people are worried and are making life-changing decisions.
Gotcha.
So,
and folks, this is a tough time. We are committed to being here to helping with those conversations. Now, Jen, there's also some changes relative to Merit System Protection Board filing fees, and also some audits around FEHB. Tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, so those are, again, just these things that I don't even know sometimes how they get in. But, one of them, the Merit Systems Protection Board, they're talking about adding a filing fee. And I think the number I heard was $350. So to file a claim against an adverse employment decision, something that was adverse to the employee, they're going to have to pay $350 potentially to just make that claim, right? And again, I don't know. I mean, I think that can deter people that might otherwise do it, right? And you want to have that right if you want to. So anyway, that's that one. And then the FEHB, so yeah, there's funding being allocated so that there can be more auditing of the federal employees' health insurance plans. And again, these are things that could impact dependents. They can impact former spouses. We'll just have to see where that goes.
And perhaps the biggest one, and we won't do a deep dive on this, is for the folks who aren't here yet, folks who haven't been hired yet. They're literally going to have, no pun intended, a fork in the road day 0, day -1.
Yeah.
You're going to pick your path as far as whether you have civil service protections and how much you'll pay in and things like that, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another one. And, it's a big difference. It's not an incremental difference. And what it means, again, is that, so people will have to make this decision about whether or not they want to pay more in order to keep the current civil servant protections that are currently in place. And if they don't want to pay more, then they will still pay. They'll pay the 4.4%, which is what all new hires pay right now, but they will be considered at-will employees.
Gotcha.
And as an at-will employee, they can be terminated at any time without cause or without the right to appeal. So, again, these are big changes.
And Jen, there's even one version in there that shows the no protection kicking in over 9%.
Yes.
And there's a version where with protection is kicking in over 15. So there's a lot there, and you're absolutely correct about all that. So Jen, as you know, one of the things we always like to do is give people some action steps. So if somebody's seeing all this stuff flying around out there, what should they be doing in your opinion as a pro?
Yeah. I mean, the most important thing, and we say this all the time, I know, is, you want to be in a position where you're making the decisions, right? You're not making uninformed decisions. And so being educated first and foremost, and and not panicking, right? So many of the people that I'm meeting with right now are panicking, and these things have to work themselves out.
They're panicking when they first talk to you, right? And then,
yes.
Important point, Jen. Important point.
Yes, of course. But yeah, then what we do, and oftentimes, I encourage people to attend our webinars. Again, we have great webinars. I hear it from people all the time that they are the best. And, employees are watching a lot of webinars these days because they are trying to get educated. So definitely watch the webinars. In the one-on-one meetings that I do, and I know you do as well, Dan, and a few other advisors here do one-on-one meetings with employees. And, we're able, I think, to help people make good decisions, right? And there's so much information and misinformation out there. Oh my goodness. The social media posts, the Reddit posts, and I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that they're all bad, but, there's so much. And that's what I mean when I talk about this confusion, right? People are confused because there's so much information and it's hard to know. Does it impact me? Does it not? So on and so forth. That's what we do here is we help people make sense of it.
Absolutely. And I can't promise you'll meet Jen, but I'm going to say you got about a 50-50 chance of meeting Jen. So if you go to meetings at STWServe.com and request a meeting to sort all this out, there's a fighting chance you'll get to meet her. You might get stuck with me, and there's also Matt Kramer, who's amazing. So there's a reason she's the best, folks. And I think you have. I think you've witnessed that today.
We're all equally good here. Yeah. But I appreciate it.
Thank you for speaking nicely about Grandpa. So to kind of round out, I'm going to talk a little bit about whistleblowers and what it means. And the whole purpose is that our federal service is going to operate with honesty, efficiency, and accountability. And I think everybody kind of goes along with that, but pointing out when something has gone wrong. Okay, now sometimes it's an honest mistake, and I wish sometimes other times maybe it's not. There's a fear of retaliation. What's going to happen to me if I speak up? So legal protections exist if those disclosures are made in good faith to authorized recipients. Okay. So understanding protected disclosure. Whistleblowers can report waste, fraud, corruption, according to the National Whistleblower Center. The protected disclosures include violations of laws and regulations or rules. So you see something, say something. Gross waste of funds, gross mismanagement, or abuse of authority, actions threatening public health and safety. I think we all agree that stuff should come to light. And the proper channel for reporting it, start with supervisors or managers. And then if you have to, you can go up to your Office of Inspector General. And something a lot of people don't know, there is a special government office, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel, and they are designed to protect whistleblowers. And they've been doing it for decades. Now, classified information abuse may require special procedures, so check with your OIG. There's legislation that have been out there for literally decades. Whistleblower Act from the 70s, Whistleblower Protection Act from 1989 are out there. The Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act. You know we love our acronyms, Jen. Jen, that's from 2012, and a proposed one that's out there for 2025. So the legal remedies are there against retaliation. Retaliation is illegal, but it might include, so you know what to recognize, denial of promotion or disciplinary actions, transfers, demotions, or reassignments, negative performance evaluations, withholding pay or benefits, or significant, perhaps even punitive changes to duties and work conditions. So recommended steps, if you suspect retaliation, document those incidents with dates and details. File a complaint with OSC. If it's unresolved, file individual right of action, IRA, yes, not the kind we talk about all the time, Jen, with the Merit Systems Protection Board, and possibly consider federal court action with legal counsel. Here's the thing, reporting things that go wrong is part of what I always remember to thank you for. Your service to the government of the country and me, everyone. So it saves taxpayer dollars, protects lives, and it's legally protected to discourage retaliation. So that's what I got on whistleblowers, Jen.
Yeah. Well, and amazing, time flies, right? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up, I think, unless you have anything else, Dan? No?
I think we're good. Take us home.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today. And again, it's been great being here and chatting with you, Dan. I know next week you and Caitlin will be back. As always, we do this every week for our feds, and we want to make sure always that you have the latest, most up-to-date information so you can make the best decisions for your career and your family going forward.
Absolutely. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel and Spotify. And if you are a new viewer that is going to be coming in because of the magnetic attraction of Jennifer Meyer, okay, I'm going to ask you to subscribe too. Even if you are friends of her kids and family and things like that, subscribe and I'll tell you why. And it's a good reason. The more subscriptions we have, the more YouTube goes, oh, this is really helping people. So let's let people know it exists.
Yeah.
And one of the things that hurts my heart, I know it does for you too, Jen, is when we meet somebody who had 7 days to make a decision, didn't know we existed, to contact us for help. And it's already done.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't help. So please, 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 please remember to share it with your friends and colleagues.
Yeah, definitely. And also, so for more information on the topics we covered today, be sure to check out our blog at blog.stwserve.com. And you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. It's called The Weekly Serving, to get all of the latest news for feds in your inbox every single week. So lastly, I want to make sure that I let people know the upcoming webinars, because again, our webinars they really do make a difference in people's lives. I've heard it over and over again. I know we are going to have the early retirement planning on July 9th. That one covers VERA, VSIP, RIFs, discontinued service retirement. So that was July 9th. And then the next day, July 10th, the tax planning webinar, which I personally love that tax planning webinar. I know nobody likes tax planning, but I like it. I learn a lot.
Don't let Ed Zerndorfer hear you say that.
That's true. But yeah, and I think, Dan, you're hosting both of those if I saw
Yeah,
it
they're stuck with me. They're stuck with me on that one, but I'll try and make it something other than sand in the gears. And folks, again, if you prefer something more personalized, hit us up at meetings@stwserve.com. We'll help you any way we can. The track record's out there. Talk to anybody who's come through with us. Our help does not lead to an annuity sales pitch. Never has, never will. Okay. So yes, I just said that out loud with my mouth. I took the gloves off. No, if you need help, we're going to help you. And, sure. Do we have a financial planner group? Would love to talk to you about that. Sure. It's never a requirement. So I think that's it for us. Thank you for your service. Thank you for listening to Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Jen Meyer.
And I will see you next week, and I'll see if I can get Jen Meyer back in here again at some point. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.